guys. This month we're doing something different. I'm calling it Unsolved October, taking a look at a few crime stories in which the ending is in dispute. I don't generally share cases that are unresolved, but the 1965 death of Dorothy Kilgallen, deemed closed by some, has haunted me for years. I hope you'll watch to the end. There have been some fascinating recent developments in this case in the past 2 years. On Friday, November 7, 1965, celebrated reporter and TV personality Dorothy Kilgallen left the CBS studios in New York. She had just taped what was to be her last appearance on What's My Line, a popular long-running game show on which she had been a panelist for 15 years. The following morning, Dorothy, age 52, was found deceased in her Manhattan townhouse by her husband, Dick Colmar. This was a shocking end for the journalist touted by the New York Post as, quote, the most powerful female voice in America. Her cause of death was determined to be an accidental overdose of alcohol and barbiturates. Some said the overdose was deliberate, but Dorothy, a devout Catholic, would never have taken her own life, according to those close to her. They believed in a more sinister demise. Dorothy May Kilgallen was born in Chicago in July 1913 to May Ahern and James Lawrence Kilgallen, a famous newspaper reporter. Dorothy forged a reputation as a sharp, determined redhead. By the time she had completed 2 semesters at the College of New Rochelle, her passion for investigative journalism had already taken root. She worked as a crime reporter for the New York Journal, covering such figures as Bruno Richard Hauptmann, who was put to death for the kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby. In September 1936, Dorothy competed against other reporters in the race around the world. She finished the trip in 24 days, which led to her first book contract. Following a stint in Hollywood, Dorothy returned to the New York Journal, writing her own column, The Voice of Broadway. In 1940, she married actor-producer Richard Dick Colmar. The couple went on to have 3 children. In 1945, the pair co-hosted a daily morning radio show, Breakfast with Dorothy and Dick. The show was a hit, and Dorothy's star continued to rise. In addition to her book, Girl Around the World, Dorothy also published Murder One, a collection of crime cases with provocative titles like Hooch, Whores, and Homicide, and When Justice Took the Day Off. The latter told the story of the trials of Dr. Sam Shepard, the Cleveland surgeon who was wrongly imprisoned for the murder of his wife on July 4, 1954. His case, which you may know from the TV series and blockbuster movie The Fugitive, became an obsession for Dorothy, who worked tirelessly to get his verdict overturned. She revealed to Shepard's appellate attorney, F. Lee Bailey, that the judge in his original case had told her before the trial even started, quote, he's guilty as hell, there's no doubt about it, end quote. Bailey used the information to secure a reversal, and the doctor was released after serving 10 years in prison. Judge Edward Blythen had made his statement off the record in his chambers, so Dorothy did not reveal it until after his death. It was this unwavering pursuit of the truth that would prove to be Dorothy's undoing. By the early 60s, Dorothy was celebrated as both a respected journalist and TV star. She was part of the celebrity panel on the Emmy-winning What's My Line, alongside regulars Arlene Francis and Steve Allen. American viewers loved her, and moreover, they trusted her. She was known for her integrity, keeping salacious gossip to herself while she fought for justice. And she was renowned for her writing, having been dubbed by Ernest Hemingway the greatest female writer in the world. High praise. She certainly had a compelling way with words. Here's an excerpt from a February 1964 column titled, Nervous Ruby Near Breaking Point. This will become very relevant very soon. Jack Ruby's eyes were as shiny, brown and white bright as the glass eyes of a doll. He tried to smile, but his smile was a failure. When we shook hands, his hand trembled in mine ever so slightly, like the heartbeat of a bird. Now, fame and adoration are frequently accompanied by controversy, and you can't go poking a bunch of bears without making a few enemies. Dorothy certainly had a number of those. Among them was singer Frank Sinatra, a former friend. Their feud began when Dorothy ran a front-page expose of Old Blue Eyes in 1956. He was so incensed that he cracked jokes about her during his live shows, calling her the Chinless Wonder. Every time he did it, she wrote another story. He would certainly fall into the nemesis category by this point. Other enemies were even more high profile. A friend of then-President JFK, Dorothy knew of his many affairs. It would have been a huge scoop, but she kept the information to herself. That is, until she heard the name Marilyn. She was the first reporter to write that John Kennedy was involved with actress Marilyn Monroe, even though she only hinted at the name. She later told friends she was actually referring to his brother, Robert Kennedy. When Marilyn was found dead of an overdose the very next day, Dorothy feared she had been set up to create a scandal involving the Kennedys. Then, when the president was assassinated in November 1963, Dorothy's investigation convinced her that Lee Harvey Oswald was not the shooter. Dorothy had been desperate to interview Jack Ruby, the Dallas nightclub owner who fatally shot Lee Harvey Oswald 2 days after the assassination. She was alone with Ruby in his cell, and he admitted he was scared. He insisted his life was in danger in Dallas. He said he wanted to tell the truth, but I can't tell it here. The case consumed Dorothy for 2 years. She ridiculed the magic bullet theory, the Warren Commission, and FBI head J. Edgar Hoover. Dorothy revealed in one of her stories that Oswald's widow Marina possessed key information that would, quote, split open the front pages of newspapers all over the world, end quote. In addition, she wrote about key witnesses at the scene of the assassination being threatened by Dallas police and the FBI. A woman named Aquila Clemens witnessed the shooting of Officer J.D. Trippett from her front porch. She offered keen details to the police, describing the 2 men she saw running away. Neither looked like Oswald. She was warned to not repeat her story or she might get hurt. Author Dominic Dunn wrote of Dorothy, quote, she had wit, power, and a mean streak. Everybody read her, and a lot of people were afraid of her. By 1965, the tables had turned, and the formerly fearless Dorothy was now very afraid. She began to drink pretty much every day, partially to stave off the anxiety her feather ruffling of the nation's power players had caused, but also because things at home were not so good. Dorothy's husband, Dick, once an actor and producer of some note, was now unemployed. Their talk show had been canceled, and he basically just hung out at the townhouse all day, downing vodka. Youngest son, Carrie, was the only child still living at home. But when Dorothy confessed to Dick that Carrie was not in fact his son, he became as enraged as his alcohol-pickled body would permit. He treated Carrie differently after that, and when he learned the boy's real father was singer Johnny Ray, he threatened Ray's life. Had he also taken Dorothy's? It was a good question, as James Luke, the chief medical examiner who conducted Dorothy's autopsy, attributed the death to acute ethanol and barbiturate intoxication. He deemed it an accidental overdose, adding those 2 cryptic words, circumstances undetermined. 3 years after her death, toxicologists determined that Dorothy's body not only contained high doses of the sleeping pill Seconal, for which she did have a prescription, also present were high doses of Tylenol and Nembutal, more than enough to kill her. There were traces of white powder on the glass next to her bed. So, to those relishing conspiracy theories, death by husband was a strong possibility. Following Dorothy's death, Colmar remarried and enjoyed some business success with an art gallery. He completely disowned son Carrie when he was 16. Colmar took his secrets to the grave when he passed away in January 1971. Friends reported that he had sustained a bad fall days earlier. In his book, The Reporter Who Knew Too Much, author and lawyer Mark Shaw claims Dorothy Kilgallen was a victim of foul play allegedly orchestrated by New Orleans mobster Carlos Marcello. The Mafia Don feared that a tell-all book by Kilgallen would accuse him of masterminding the murders of John Kennedy and Lee Harvey Oswald. So, if it's true, how did he get to her? Author Shaw has a convincing answer to that one, too. On the night of November 7th, What's My Line panelist Dorothy had correctly guessed the occupation of the mystery guest. Catherine Stone, who sold dynamite. The contestant later spied Dorothy and a mystery man huddled together at the Regency Hotel bar. Author Shaw identifies that man as Ron Pataki, a columnist with whom Dorothy had been keeping company for a number of years. Shaw believes there was an affair based on love letters between the two, but it seems that Dorothy suspected Pataki of leaking her JFK evidence to her targets. Mark Shaw researched Dorothy's life extensively. She is actually the subject of a few of his books. He is fervent in his belief that she was denied justice, stating that the death scene was staged to look like an accidental overdose. All of her papers, research, and dossiers were missing from the home. His final conclusion is that someone, possibly Colmar or Pataki, laced Dorothy's favorite gin and tonic with the drugs that killed her. As for motive, take your pick. Conspiracy theories abound. While Pataki has gone on record in recent years as saying that he had a close friendship with Dorothy and loved her dearly, he certainly didn't put any scandalous rumors to rest when he penned this poem titled Vodka Roulette. While I'm spilling my guts, she is driving me nuts. Please fetch us 2 drinks on the run. Just skip all the noise and make one of them poison, and don't even tell me which one. Alrighty then, not too suspicious. Anyway, I promised an update. Following the publication of The Reporter Who Knew Too Much in 2016, Mark Shaw filed a petition to have Dorothy's body exhumed. His amended petition was filed October 15, 2019, and comprises a hefty 145 pages. It also requests the DNA of Ron Pataki, who currently resides in Columbus, Ohio, and is 84 years old. It appears the decision regarding these legal matters is still pending.